Well, that's that, I guess. Welcome to the new season, season 2, maybe.
Yes, episode 1 of season 2.
That's it. We are back. It's Conversation Transfer.
Yep.
That's right. Come on, man.
You got radio voice on already.
I do, don't I? What are you supposed to do? You're telling me you got to introduce it. So
Yes.
that's what I do, is I introduce it. Conversation Transfer. It's a podcast that crosses the generation gap.
Correct.
And reveals to you what's on the other side. I'm Patrick.
Though I may not be the best representation. I hope I am. I'm Hayden.
But anyways, yeah, here we are. We're back. Conversation Transfer at gmail.com is the email address. That's where you can get in touch with us or comment. I guess they can comment on YouTube page as well, right?
Yes, please check us out on YouTube if you want to see all the previous episodes and our visual representations. We actually display photos on some of these.
Yeah, we're available wherever you get podcasts. We don't know where you got this one, but there is a YouTube channel. It's just Conversation
Transfer.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'd enjoy a sponsor. So if you're willing to sponsor us, we'd like to put all the episodes out on there and maybe some better audio editing tools.
Yeah, some audio equipment.
Because, I was trying out this program named Audition, Adobe Audition.
Right.
And I had a 7-week trial, and it's amazing.
Right.
So, episode 7, the sound quality, you will notice, is amazing. And that's just a sneak peek. But you can tell the difference between the bit rate and all the stuff they do to enhance it.
So, pleading for a sponsorship to help us pay for some quality recording. What are they? Programs, platforms,
Programs and platforms.
To
okay. Release our episodes. So
yep.
Let's start in episode 1.
Episode 1. We're going to talk about it. Everybody knows what it is.
And just a note: this is episode 1, but it's a special release. So we're not done recording all the episodes yet. It's basically what we're saying. We are going to release this. Well, it has been released by the time you hear this, but on the weekend of the 30th. January 30th, but there will not be an episode to follow it the next weekend. We will come back with episode 2 on the February 6th. So
kind of an early release.
A month gap in between there.
Yeah. Well, some crap's happened. I mean, it's gone down. The shit hit the fan, brother. Come on.
Exactly. So here's why our special release of episode 1 is. It's current. It's happening right now, and
I don't know. Did you give me a title? You did. It's over there. What is it called?
Our title is...
You told me to introduce it, and I'm blowing it.
Here you go.
All right.
It's number 3.
Let me put on my glasses.
You're old.
Election and the aftermath. That's right,
Yes.
folks. And the aftermath. Well, I don't know. The election was pretty freaking weird, too, man.
Yeah.
Now, Hayden, you haven't participated in an election yet. I've done it since I was 18. This is the first time.
I'm a year before I could vote. If it would have been 1 year out. Oh, well.
Right. So, Hayden, this is the first time that we didn't know the results of an election on election night in my whole memory of ever voting for anyone, ever.
Yeah, and obviously me too.
So,
Though
most
I
of that...
remember Obama versus Romney. That's
Right.
about as far as it goes.
I think most of that was, as you all know, it had to do with the COVID because of mail-in balloting.
Yeah.
Now, your mom and I, we've always mailed in.
Yeah.
It just makes perfect sense.
Colorado's a nice state like that. I know we've talked about how important it is for people to vote on here before.
Yep.
And one reason I appreciate Colorado with their voting system is they make it as easy can be, unlike some states.
Yep.
Alabama.
Right.
Here in Colorado, they send you a ballot.
Yep.
You don't have to ask for it. They just send it to you.
Yep.
If they ask you,
Well, you got to be a registered voter.
Exactly, and they ask you to register to vote.
Yep.
Every time you have to do something governmental, renew your license, get a license. anything that you fill out with the government, there's like,
Do you
question,
want to vote?
yes or no?
Yep.
And it's as simple as that. After you say yes, they'll send you a ballot. And it's not like if you don't, submit the ballot, they'll keep sending it to you for like 3 years of not submitting. And
Yeah,
then they'll
it's a
finally
blueprint the rest of the country should follow. I mean, if Colorado doesn't do anything, which
stop. We have great voter turnout
we
compared
have,
to other states.
and yes, we figured out how to do the voting for sure.
The drop boxes are a nice thing. I know that was a big thing for this election in particular. We had 150% of drop boxes compared to previous years.
Yeah, they basically doubled the amount of drop boxes, and they're conveniently located. It is. Your mom and I just found that voting by mail is it's the most modern thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of talk around some sort of fraud and all this BS that went down with the mail-in balloting. It's way secure. I don't understand where that came from because we get the paper ballot. It's a piece of paper. You fill in the dots. You sign your name. You put it in a security sleeve. You put it in the drop box. Now, we didn't use the U.S. mail. We never do because the drop box situation is so convenient. There's really no need. On your way to the store, on your way to work, on your way anywhere, you can put it in one of these drop boxes that the county clerks are in charge of. So,
yeah, the drop boxes were another thing, though, in this that was made a big deal about. The mail-in ballots and the drop boxes and there was a lot of, Donald Trump did this. There was a lot of
drama. What would you expect from a television show personality?
Yeah.
The reality of Donald Trump's existence is he is a reality television star, which, as you know, reality TV shows have nothing to do with reality.
They're just a joke.
When he announced his candidacy, that the room that was every person in the room cheering for him was a paid actor. Each one of those people got paid $50 to be there and cheer on Donald Trump. Those weren't real supporters. They were actors.
Yep.
So, the election and the aftermath. I don't know. It's almost like, where do you start? What have we talked about?
Election. We've just been talking about ballots and mail-in ballots and the.
I mean, but in season 2, did we bring up anything with the election? I'm having a hard time remembering.
This is episode 1 of season 2.
I mean, season 1.
Season 1. No, there was I think we ended with us about to have an election.
Right.
There was an episode made that was never released. That was kind of too dark and gloomy that I didn't want to listen to it to edit it.
Right.
About the coming up election. And basically, some of those things actually happened. How Donald Trump was going to try and keep the presidency even if he lost. That was the topic of that
right.
unreleased episode.
How Trump would maintain the presidency, or attempt to, and it's a shame he didn't release it because it would have given this podcast a little more credibility.
Well, it was way too morbid, and it's out there. If we ever want to do something with it, I have the MP3 file somewhere.
Right, but if it was released last year, then like I said, we would have had a little more credibility given to the podcast.
Hindsight's 20/20.
It is,
and I didn't release it because I didn't even want to listen to it.
I get it because it. If anyone with a pulse has been paying attention to what happened in the last few months or since the election, as it goes with Donald Trump, you know where it all went and how it got dark.
Yeah, it did.
And it got so far into Looney Tunes land that when your mom told me they're storming the Capitol, I didn't believe her.
Yeah, and we'll get to that because that's what this is about, election and the aftermath. Because, on a typical presidency, would you ever think to have an episode dedicated to the election that's, an actual viable topic about that you can be fired up on? And it's just, not heard of. It's really
No,
somebody's
to talk
been
about
elected.
to talk about the election is kind of ludicrous because it's just sort of a standard thing. You go to the polls, you vote for president, the person who wins, done.
I never would have thought of writing this down as a topic.
Right. Now,
of a-
policies of the new president or
Yes.
policies of the incumbent,
But not the election
but not
itself.
the election itself.
Our democratic system.
Right.
So, and I think we had this at a topic even before the Capitol Hill riot because it was crazy. But then that happened, and you're like, whoa.
It was a big whoa.
That was a whoa. And we'll get to that.
So let's go ahead and just run down your overview.
Yeah.
How long did it take? It took forever. What was it, a week?
The election.
Yes.
Yeah.
A week, well, for the results.
The results were announced Saturday. Yeah, they were Saturday because I remember on Saturday he came out.
Yep, it was a Saturday morning.
Saturday morning it was announced. Saturday night he had his little speech.
Yep.
And then Saturday Night Live, Dave Chappelle was hosting and said, hey, this was better than when I last hosted, which was 4 years ago on election night.
Right.
So, yeah, it was Saturday and election day was what, Tuesday?
Yep.
Yeah, so, whew, that's a lot of anxiety to go through.
Yes, it was a lot of anxiety. And it was mostly, like I said, it had to do with all the mail-in ballots. Those got to be handled special. And the states, Colorado counts them, but they don't release the information until Election Day.
Which is also really cool.
Yes, because you have results the Election Day.
7 o'clock, you press a button.
Press a button and brrrt, goes through the computer.
You already have
and
80% of your votes done.
You got the tally done. Now, other states is the reason we had to wait. They don't have the same laws when it comes to their election process. They don't start actually counting those votes
Until 7.
until the day of the election. So, some waiting
Or
there.
even until the polls close for some.
Yep, and that anxiety. Thank you very much, Georgia, Pennsylvania. I don't
Yes.
know if you're going to
Georgia,
fix
Pennsylvania, Arizona.
but hope. Well, Arizona, I think, called their
Michigan.
election that evening.
They called it the next day. The Associated Press did.
Oh, but they didn't
all
actually-
kinds of individual things. I think Fox News was the first one to call Arizona as Democrat as Joe Biden.
Yep.
But there was all kinds. CBS, NBC, those news stations had it unregistered until like Pennsylvania and Georgia were called. Like, it was a big legal battle down there too.
Well, and that was the other thing. I mean, no sooner did the polls close that the big baby whiner had to go and file all kinds of court papers
Yep.
saying that the election was stolen from him.
Well,
that the election wasn't right. That whatever those specific court papers were that he filed, he did it in an attempt to block the results of the natural flow of democracy.
Yes, which is totally it's a legal, just thing to do that.
It is.
You can.
Yes.
And because
he's not the only one. There's been plenty of presidents in the
Yep.
past that have done it.
Absolutely. Because
Or presidents are
There-
losers. I don't know.
there
I'm
are
sure,
50 separate elections
Yep.
in each state, and it's all a legal thing. It's a law that the next president, if a new one is elected, takes office. There's a law that says he's the president because of those 50 separate elections. And the electors do that. But the thing about those legal cases is, yes, it was really close in some states, but I don't think it's worth it. How are you going to find collectively hundreds of thousands of votes? In some states, it was real close.
I'll tell you, it's real simple. You call the governor and say, "Yo, find me 11,000 votes."
Well, that's what he tried.
You asked.
Only, some people call the wrong person Rudy Giuliani, which was hilarious.
Oh Lord. Yeah. So let's file lawsuits, which is fine. You can do that,
Yeah.
and thankfully the court system held.
Thankfully, democracy did its job.
Yep. And they understood that there were no evidence to support any of the allegations that Donald Trump was trying to push on people. And simple, it was stolen.
Yeah.
The election was a fraud. It was another term he uses, a hoax. I mean, Jesus Christ, what a fucking moron.
After all those legal battles that we were talking about, the months to follow, there was really silence from him other than it was
stolen.
fraud.
No,
it was
the election was stolen. It 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 was stolen.
There was nothing else.
Right.
other
That's
than
all.
that.
Every time he opened his mouth, that's the only thing he could say.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't have any comment on what was going on in the world. He didn't have any comment for anything that he had to finish up while he, still had
in
days and
office,
months in
yeah.
office. It was all about this riling up of the psychopaths that believe him
Yeah.
to no freaking real justifiable end.
Well, let's talk about those numbers. They are at record highs. I mean, let's look at the election. We had a record election, most people ever to vote,
Yep.
and
Quote
that
your
means-
source.
That means Associated Press. Just
There
look
you-
at the numbers.
Okay.
Just go. Whoa.
Why?
Over 140
you know what?
million
I take that
people?
back. We're not going to change this podcast. It was just a couple idiots' opinions, so
Yeah.
continue.
It's just look at the Associated Press. Have you ever seen over 140 million votes before?
No,
In
this was,
history?
as you
No.
said, this was
Yep.
the largest turnout.
Because of COVID and because of some of these issues. But when you say psychopaths, geez, there must be a lot of psychopaths, because when there's 70 million under his name, 70 million people that went, I'm okay with racism, I'm okay with white supremacy, I'm okay with screwing over the earth, I'm okay with reality TV show host running our country.
Yes. 70 million people are okay with those things.
And in season one, yeah, we talked about that as a minority.
Yes.
That minority's friggin' huge.
Yes. There is no doubt in my mind that is still a minority view. That racism being okay is still a minority view. That misogyny being okay is still a minority view. I believe that everything that Donald Trump represents is a minority view. But that is a large number. That minority is you remember, I mean, obviously one is a minority of 10.
Yes.
It's a small number, too. It's just one. But 70 million of some 350,000
350 million.
million, thank you. 7 million of 350 million, it's still, is it 70 or 7?
70.
Jesus, that's an awful large number.
Yes. And there was 74 for Biden. So there's 74 people. And here's the thing. How many of those 74 million would have voted for Donald Trump if it hadn't been for COVID-19?
That's a very fracked up thing.
Because a lot of things that determine election is how's the economy doing right now. It's all this dumb rich people stuff. It's the economy and the world situation.
Yes. Yes, that's a very interesting point. I think that does hold true. COVID probably saved us from Donald Trump being reelected.
Which is a sad truth.
It's a sad truth. It's
Especially since a lot of those people, I think, would have looked at Kamala Harris as our vice president and went, no. Because of the fact that she's female. And colored.
absolutely.
And, not of white.
Absolutely.
background, so-
The undertone to Donald Trump is his racism.
Yeah.
The undertone to Donald Trump is his nationalists. He's a nationalist and a racist and a white supremacist. And anyone that tries to tell you otherwise is also a nationalist, a racist, and a white supremacist.
Yeah. It's just, it's frustrating to think of something like that, analytically speaking, but then, including your morals.
Are you going to have a hard time editing this one? It's getting kind of down on the spooky
I know,
zone.
we're getting there. Let's get out. Ugh.
That's a topic. We should continue this conversation because that's a very important point.
Yeah.
The fact that Donald Trump was not lost to Joe Biden because of the virus, not for no other reason other than the fact that there was a virus. Possible, yes, but I still think that majority of the people in the country were fed up with it. But then I guess when we look at the Senate race, there's 50-50 in the Senate.
Yeah.
Maybe white supremacy, maybe idiotic ideology is more rampant in our country than we are able to admit. And it could be because a thinking person who doesn't put any thought behind something that's so foolish, once they start to think about it, typically I go up my day, I don't think about racism, it's foolish thought. But when I sit here in front of this microphone with you and I put some thought to it, it comes to a realization, Hayden, oh my God. 70,000 versus
70 million.
70 million versus
74 million.
Versus 74 million. Not a big margin.
No.
Not a landslide.
And not like the polls suggested. We've had 2 elections now where the polls
polls
way
can go
effed.
fly off.
But usually they don't.
Well,
usually
they're wrong now.
It's very
different
an
times.
analytical thing.
Social media, different times.
Social media.
Electronic age.
Well, that social media will come into this. In fact, I think, let me look. Episode 5 is going to be about more social media crap.
Yeah.
We have some, I guess, update you'd call it, because we did it in season 1, but social media plays a huge role in the Capitol riot as well.
Right.
Which, with his rhetoric, with these 70 million people that still say, I support all those nasty things, he was feeding a lot of those people with the months after, with that it was stolen, with his rallies that he'd hold, and that led up to Capitol Hill riot.
Yep.
And social media played a big part in that. We're still uncovering stuff as we go through, but the FBI are finding that the social media outlets were used to plan it.
That's the only way it could have taken place, though.
Yeah.
That's a good point too. I want to bring up when it comes to these white supremacists, these white nationalists, I'm going to use the term psychopaths just to lump them all together.
Yep.
When it comes to the hate mongers, they are a minority view, and they are in every community in the world.
Yes.
It's just they exist. The small minority view. But in their individual communities, they're not much of a threat, because in their individual communities, they are a minority view. But with the advent of the social media platforms, they now have the ability to communicate amongst themselves in these places,
Across the
Facebook,
world.
Across the world. So that small minority view becomes a huge number again. If social media, and like you said, I think we're going to find, we already know there's this Parler thing out there that's just full of hate speech and conspiracy theories and out lies and bullshit and alternate
QAnon.
realities and fantasies, for lack of a better term. What those social media platforms, they're on a switch. You got to realize that's a man-made freaking thing.
Yeah.
There is a fucking power switch to all of that shit, and you can click it off. And these companies were making money off of this disinformation spreading and this conspiracy threading. It's the clickbait, baby.
Yep.
They were irresponsible, and of course, now in their defense, I think they probably, as everybody, never thought for a fucking second that people would be dumb enough to actually cause insurrection.
Yeah.
But they should have been more responsible. And you know what? Free speech is about the government suppressing your speech, not private industry. And they were all private, corporate
Civil liberties
organizations
versus civil rights.
Yes. And they should have stood up for civil liberties. And they should have said no.
Civil rights, you mean? Because civil liberties are against the government. Civil rights is person v. person.
Whatever. They should have said, this guy is talking bullshit.
Yeah.
This QAnon psychopathic rant is getting way too much followers, and yeah, we're making a ton of money off of it, but at what cost? The destruction of society, our children's inability to live.
And yeah, we just
and
need
work.
to go into that topic as a whole nother episode, because that is a huge point of the diversity today.
Right.
It-
Well,
I
then
mean,
moving
we've
on
been-
to the riots.
yeah,
the riots
the
on
riots.
Capitol Hill, the insurrection on Capitol Hill. Holy fucking shit.
Well, we'll start. My story is, you're at work, so you don't even see this, right?
Nope.
You don't. See
I don't
this
say, I don't know what's happening
while
until
it's
your mom
happening.
calls.
Yes.
I said, I told her when I left in the morning, hey, if anything weird happens, and that's the thing is, why would I be thinking anything would
Weird
happen?
happen,
Because there's an undertone in the speech that is taking place from the fucking president of the United States that says, hey, psychopaths, maybe we should bum rush the Capitol. I mean, I can hear it. I'm not supporting it, but I can hear the undertones every time he opens his mouth since the election. So I tell your mom, I says, you know what? If anything weird happens, just call me. I won't, whatever. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So you don't get to see the images.
No, I don't see the images.
Real time.
Right.
Basically, I was outside throwing for the dog, playing fetch, right?
Yeah.
And I get told to come inside, and because the Capitol's been breached, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was kind of at first portrayed as, well, it's peaceful. They're just kind of all standing around outside of it doing nothing. But then as you learn, no, they got inside, and there was some real violence going on.
Definitely.
Real violence. And
Bloodshed and death.
they advertised it as peaceful right away. Like, the first thing they said was, oh, it's peaceful. That was the news headlines, right? Peaceful. However, yeah, blood and death. It was like a third world type thing you were looking at.
Right.
Something you'd look in a non-established country where democracy and all these different forms of government, aristocracy, all this stuff is battling to be the government source.
Yeah, we're looking at Nairobi.
Yeah.
We're looking at, Afghanistan.
Yep.
We're looking at, somewhere that isn't a modern, place, to some extent Mexico we're looking
Yeah.
at.
Central America, South America.
Right. All these places
Middle
where
East.
this sort of bullshit goes down. Yes, no, I saw the images later, and I agree with you. When I saw them, I was like, oh my God, this is way worse than just hearing it on the radio.
Or hearing what it was originally portrayed as. It's peaceful, but no. You look at, and I think that cops were confused too when they started to get beat up, because you would never. He's the law enforcement president.
Yes,
He's the-
all these Trump signs out here, they're not going to hurt us. They are
Yeah.
for peace and order. They're for justice and law. They're not going to break the law. They're Trump supporters.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of them, cops got confused when they all of a sudden are getting beat upon or pushed around,
Pepper sprayed.
pepper sprayed, yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's probably over discussed by now. You've seen a million clips, videos, photos. If you haven't, you're living in a hole.
You're going to remember where you were the
Yeah.
day that Trump supporters stormed the United States Capitol in an attempt
Yeah.
to stop the democratic process, which they couldn't have. I mean, even burning down the Capitol on that day would not have changed the facts, would not have changed the outcome. I mean, I suppose if they'd gotten hold of the actual electoral votes, which were inside the chambers of the House of Representatives.
I don't know who, but somebody grabbed those, luckily.
Right. Maybe
On their way
that could have
out.
caused for some sort of legal rambling to take place. But no, it wasn't like they were going to change anything. That's the other thing about hate and hate mongers is why I don't get them. What's the ends? What's the ends? Like, I was so
Disrupt
ticked
into
off.
chaos.
I guess.
The ends is disrupt into chaos.
And then what do you have?
Another government that's just more controlling and effed up.
Who doesn't understand
From
this?
chaos comes government, and from government becomes chaos. I mean,
Why don't you get this?
that's why we try and set up government things that are going to last a
Stability.
little while. Yeah.
No, the images that I saw when I got home that night, everybody that's and here's the other thing, man. Oh, what fucking morons. They tarnished this nation's
image.
Yep. They tarnished what the world thinks about the United States and its democratic process. Because now all of the United States' enemies are going to be able to say, what makes you think you're so much better than us? Because you look just like us.
Yep.
You got people burning down your goddamn Capitol buildings. You got people bitching that the election's a hoax. What makes you any better than us? Make America great again? Talk about fucking destroy America's reputation.
We're just destroying the democratic ways that Americans are supposed to stand for in the world spotlight.
Morons, lack of education,
the Red
stupidity.
Scare. We were one of the whole reason the Cold War happened was because we were too big on our balls and they were too big on their balls to, say we're wrong. This is the system. We stood for a system of government. They stood for a system of government, and that is why an entire decade's worth of fear and conflict occurred.
Well,
just because of holding a democratic viewpoint, a system of government that works a specific way, which Americans have supposedly, that's what we all have in common. That's what we're all supposed to pride ourselves on,
Those days, people, their thinking was shallow, or much more shallow. Not to say that it still isn't today. Obviously, we have a example of that burnt into our brains. But I think I can't even say what I was going to think because it gets contradicted by what fucking happened at the Capitol.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot, douchebag. You really scored good there. I mean,
not to mention, let's just think about how fascism and communism has come to power before. A riot. It's a riot on your government buildings and overthrowing the government. That's how the Nazi political party came to power in Germany. They had studs stand outside the polls. They threatened to shoot you if you didn't vote for Adolf Hitler.
Yeah. Well, I think if you had no idea what happened in Germany in the 30s, you're getting a good fucking idea of it right now because it's happened to America in the 20s.
Yeah.
But, okay, that was, it's a scar. Forever will be a scar. Thank God we moved on.
There's going to be photos from that event that'll be in the history books.
Oh,
just there.
Good God. They're there. It's the one thing.
When you see Capitol Guards pulling out their guns on barricaded doors from
shit they found at Americans around. Waving American flags.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about those American flags. That's not where you want to see the American flag. You want to see the American flag from the people that are in the government, not from this mob that, has a Confederate flag waving next to it, have a Trump flag waving next to it, have a flag with a blue line in it waving next to it. And by the way, that flag with the blue line means racism. So if you're one of those people that have it on their car and you don't know what it means, you think it means like support police or something. No, it means
I'm a racist.
It means I'm a racist.
And I want to kill black people.
Yes. That's
what that flag means.
Even if you could argue, well, maybe it's original intent, they've made it into... No.
If you see someone with the stupid-ass made-you-look thing...
Yeah.
That's racism. Yeah. That's code for, are you, like me, a hater? If you see the Confederate battle flag, the stars and bars...
being waved freely.
That is I hate black people, I am a racist. That's what that flag means.
Yep. And there is a heritage factor to the Confederate flag, but it's not...
Long since dead. Died 3 generations ago.
Not to mention the fact that if you're waving it freely in public...
You're claiming you're a racist.
if it's not like in your house somewhere as decoration next to your World War II or not World War Civil War setup, where your grandpa had fought there,
Your grandpa fought for the Civil War?
Yeah.
Your grandpa's a traitor.
Yep. Exactly.
If your grandpa fought for the Civil War, then he is a fucking traitor. I should say, in the Civil War, if he voted for if he was in the Confederate Army
during the Civil War,
and he wasn't drafted and forced to fight,
yep,
he's a traitor.
Yep. But there is a heritage aspect to the flag, but not if you're flying it in public and storming a Capitol building.
Frankly, if you're flying it in public today, you're a traitor.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if it's in a
that's like the Nazis that fly the frickin' swastika around. Not only are they racist, fascist pigs, but they're fucking traitors to this country.
It's just when you have people with Auschwitz shirts on and Nazi shirts on next to the American flag, and the Confederate flag next to the American flag, and a flag with a blue stripe, and Trump flags all over the place.
How many
Your
people?
name's on it, quite literally.
How many people have grandparents that died fighting to quash that crap?
Maybe a lot of people in the South.
I'm talking about World War II. I'm talking about World War II. How many people? How many Americans?
About as many people as died from COVID today.
I mean, up to today, not just in one day. Yes, up to today. Yeah, those people, they fought against fascism and racism, and they won.
Yeah.
Thankfully. And now all of those folks are being denigrated by these other folks that just have no regard for that at all. So fast forward past the riots and we come up to the inauguration. Yay.
Yeah. Stressful, but weight lifted. Stressful because of the fact that they were in the same area that 2 weeks before was a Capitol Hill riot.
And the psychopaths were saying that we're going to do it again.
Yep.
All the social media platforms that they talked on before were heated up and hot and making money off of the hate.
And stressful because they had found cars with guns and bombs in it before heading to Washington, D.C. But thankful, the weight lifted after hearing... First, the coolest thing ever was the swearing in of Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's on the radio.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
Didn't get to hear that.
That sucks for you, but I got to see it.
Right.
I stopped class and actually turned on the television, watched it.
Right.
Second relief was when Biden got sworn in, and then the coolest part was
I did get to hear the
speech
given by Biden, and he brought up some points, but the thing about it was he brought it up with such grace and poise. And
that's what we need, though.
Oh, jeez, yeah. I mean, we don't need idiots like me spouting off. We need as much as we need people to say it with elegance. And
we need people to
elegance
to have an emotional support to where they can start to look, racism's bad. You can't yell at them and scream at them that racism's bad. That's just going to fuel their anger.
Yep.
I think he's a good choice for right now.
I think his inaugural speech was probably the best speech he's ever made.
Yeah.
In his 30 years as a politician.
Yeah.
I wonder if he wrote it or if he had somebody write it for him or how much involved he was. I guess either way, it doesn't matter. He was able to deliver.
I bet he had, a professional speechwriter there, but obviously those are his ideas because that's what he's been campaigning on.
Absolutely.
It was all these different parts that he had said put together.
It was his entire campaign put together. And the reason for campaigning, the man is our oldest president, is he not?
I think so. Yeah, he is.
He was retired.
Yep.
He came out of retirement to stop the madness.
Yep. And that's respectable. He wasn't my first pick, but that's very respectable.
And it wasn't my first pick either, but you know what?
I'm acting like I picked. He wasn't my first, pick that I would have, if I was a voting citizen, chose for, which, I hope to be one day.
Yeah.
If some writers
it's inevitable.
Take over the Capitol building.
Yeah, no. Well, I see where you're going with it. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's inevitable, so sharpen your pencil. a lot of, in his speech, he called out racism. He called out evil. He called out the darkness that we're still going to face down. This winter is just beginning. And Hayden, some of the things that have come out here in just a few weeks after this riot, I told your mom about months ago because I saw the writing on the wall. Folks who might be doing this podcast next season from Canada. But anyways, there's
Hopefully
a
not.
lot more to get over. And there has to be evidence that we've gotten over it and corrected the course of this ship. If we don't make a course correction, if policies aren't brought back that saves our environment, if policies aren't brought back that crushes corporate greed and freezes the ability of nameless, faceless corporations to rape the American people, including insurance companies, we're not even halfway out of the woods. We might see the light at the end of the tunnel isn't a train, but we're not out of the tunnel.
Fighting for climate.
Jesus, I'll tell you
In
what.
fact, this winter, you say, oh, this nice cold winter. This winter is really warm.
It's warm.
It's not right.
The storms are more
Spring
intense.
storms.
Yep. But the actual, it's,
Which is in a episode. Stick around for episode 4. That's going to be an interesting one.
and just
And a lot of the things we talk about as topics, it's just finally we have this guy that's inaugurated that's acknowledging it even exists. Acknowledging the fact that we need to do something about it, not just build more cars. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously.
No, he has the experience of being a leader, not only in the Senate, but as the vice president to President Obama. That experience in the executive position, look what it's already brought. We're back in the Paris Agreement, thank God.
Let's talk about some of those executive orders.
Like 12 of them the first day, 17, another 12, I think the second day it was. I don't know where I'm getting the 12 number, but boom, let's hit the pandemic running. Let's do it. Bang.
He's already assigned and appointed a dude as official COVID-19 response coordinator. He didn't do a national mask mandate because of the legal stuff behind it.
Well, he did a federal
Yes.
mask mandate, which is, we didn't have that all throughout COVID.
Yep. And he's starting things like the 100 Days Masking Challenge. He's trying to make it hip and new for young people because that's a challenge.
Right, yeah, like
but
YouTube crap.
It's important, right?
It is.
He's also
Fixed immigration stuff.
Well,
what did he do?
Staying with the pandemic, the last thing he did with the pandemic was get us back into the World Health Organization.
Right. Yep.
Which is huge. Immigration, DACA. That's back in business.
DACA. Or DACA, as I've heard it pronounced in the mainstream.
DACA.
Yes. Deferred. See, DACA. Deferred Action
for Childhood
Arrivals.
Yep. So, Trump had been trying to end that program for years, but he's trying to enact legislation to have a permanent status.
Those folks need to be judged on a case-by-case basis. They need to be given the right to present what they've done with their citizenship over the time that they've been in this country and have it looked at an immigration court and have that immigration court. Well, they came here of their no choice of their own.
Yeah,
their parents drug them here. But what they've done, and this needs, like I said, a case by case, because there have been people that have done absolute positive things for themselves and society, and there have been people that haven't. This is a case-by-case thing, and they need to be given the opportunity because, yes, I want to keep the good ones.
Yep.
I want to keep the good ones.
Yep.
Maybe not so much the bad ones, but I want to keep the good ones.
Yes, not the drug traffickers, but how about the people that are actually
the doctors,
contributing,
the research scientists,
to the local economies?
Yes.
And he also, on immigration, revoked the plan to exclude these immigrants, non-citizens,
The travel ban?
from the census
Census
data. Because
that's all fucked up.
I know, but
Trump has just farted a royal one on the census with his boy.
you need
Anything that guy touched turned to shit.
And
It really did.
really, those people, why would they want to be counted when Trump was in too? When he's threatening, we're going to remove you. I mean,
I got to tell the folks,
census
I've
is-
come down on Trump, but let me just state for the record real fast, Hayden, I gave him a chance because he was elected the president of the United States.
supposed to respect your
under
president.
under a democratic process. But as time went on, I didn't like him. I didn't want him to be president, but I gave him the fair freaking chance to impress me. I thought, I know people that have voted for him, and they're, they've got ideas, and maybe, some of those things could happen. Not a goddamn one of them happened. That man did nothing but break things. He didn't put anything together. Oh, wait, he did. He killed the Iranian guy, and he made the taxes better for him and his rich friends, but not for the working guy.
yeah.
What else?
Space Force,
Oh, yeah, he did. He made Space Force.
one of the jokiest things on Netflix now.
Commentary on that is brought to you by Michael Scott of the
It's
Dunder
good to
Mifflin
be
Paper
black
Company.
on the moon.
God damn.
Yeah.
No, so I just needed to tell the folks that I gave him a fair fucking shake. I didn't hate him out of the gate. I didn't like him. I didn't hate him. Today, I despise him.
Yeah.
If I met him on the street, I would not offer him a handshake. I would go straight for his fucking neck with my fist closed around my thumb.
Yeah. It's frustrating where he put us. But let's look at these. Biden's passing 17 executive
Yes.
actions.
Sorry,
in
didn't
one
mean to
day,
stop you.
In one day? No, I know. This is just a little continuation. Whereas, what did Trump do his first day?
Nothing.
Played golf?
Yep, watch television. Tweeted.
Yeah. Well, anyway, more into those executive actions.
What did Trump do his second day?
Same thing.
More golf, more TV, more tweeting.
Yeah. What was it? What day was it when he finally tried to do that dumb green card scandal thing? Which was the first red flag for me, because when you see people that are getting torn apart from their families at the airport, that's kind of heart-wrenching.
It was somewhere 2 weeks to a month into his presidency, he finally started to do something, and he did the travel ban first, I think.
Yeah.
So, okay, go on. What did Biden? Let's
Yeah,
celebrate.
Let's celebrate. Muslim ban
Lifted.
lifted. That was a whole racist thing, I guess culturist thing. A racist against a culture or religion. I don't even know the word for that.
I don't care. We
Can't
know. We
think
get
of
your
it right
point.
now. Yeah. He also halted construction on the border wall.
Yay! Border wall done.
The only thing that I'm a little disappointed about that is, where does that money go? They already spent
goes
it.
to COVID, I guess. I hate.
Well, no, but they already spent some things. So it's like, I don't want to waste the taxpayers' dollars. I mean,
Well, it'll
Do
have to
something
be.
with that
It
money.
will. It'll
Yeah.
have to be adjudicated or whatever
Yeah.
the word is for that. It'll have to be redone.
here's my favorite, Paris Accords. This was already earlier
Yep.
mentioned. He also has reversal on policies like the Keystone XL pipeline,
Yay!
the vehicle emission standards,
Yay!
the the slash the size of the national monuments,
Woohoo!
parks, and the oil and natural gas leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And he has a group of scientists working on those costs, the social and economic costs of climate change. So he's got an actual team of people that are, there to advise him on stuff.
Right. I
that
know
are
during
qualified.
during the excuse me, folks, the time when a person is running for office, during that time, the word eludes me right now. During his campaign,
Campaign, there you go.
there was a lot in back and forth when he was with that group of Democrats, Kamala being one of them. There were some extreme liberal actions that a lot of those candidates wanted to take. And some of them are kind of scary because we we don't need that kind of governmental control. We still need our freedoms and liberties, but we need to be guided in the right direction.
Yeah. Except I disagree with you on when it comes to climate. It's an existential thing that we're kind of at the end of the clock.
Yes, you know what? I was against all that, but because nobody has done anything, we did. We ran out the clock on that, and now we have to get extreme because we had plenty of time prior to now. Even during the Obama administration, we had time. Nothing was done then. No fault of President Obama's.
Yeah.
That was mostly because the Congress didn't want to work with him. But
He only had
we lost
2 years.
12 freaking years.
Yeah.
12 years on trying to combat climate change, and now we're up against a damn wall. So maybe those extreme measures do have to get.
I would argue we lost 20 years. 2000 election.
Yeah,
Al Gore v. Bush.
yeah, that's true.
Those 8.
You're right.
Obama
Gore
had-
knew about this in
Yeah.
2000, so we've lost 20 years. A quarter of a century is now gone. How are we going to make up that time?
Radicalization.
You're right.
Instead of slowly pushing it, which was what I think. You called Gore a radical, but he was actually trying to keep jobs and have the economy not,
Right.
totally kerplunk because of it. But,
Well, he said things that at the time didn't make sense, only now time has proved him right. And it's unfortunate that time proved him right because it's all the doom and gloom that he said back in 2000. This is going to happen. This is going to... And funny, because he said, in the next couple of decades, we will see
These
storms
things, yeah.
that will come into New York. And, we will see the rising tides. And now you've got, we mentioned it, Miami.
We talked about it
Yeah,
in
we talked
episode
about it.
4. And it's
So,
just, that's why I think some of these people are getting pissed already about their jobs with some of these executive orders Biden has just done. And you know what? Here's the thing. Your jobs aren't going to go away. They're just going to change.
yep.
They're not going anywhere. They're
Yep.
changing. And they're changing for the better.
Yep. Yeah, you're not
By the way, if anybody can come up with an innovative carbon capture design technology, Elon Musk will give you $100 million for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's a cool fun fact I just learned about. I think that's cool, Elon. Just also focus on the
really?
energy. Also focus on how we're making our energy. Because oil and gas won't be here for forever.
I don't care if it
nasty.
is here forever. It's nasty,
Yeah.
people. It is freaking... Let's go back to medieval times.
Yeah.
It's just nasty.
And we
are
talked
so
about
much
this.
better than that. Human beings are so much better than that. God.
We talked about this. Stick around for episode 4. Let's wrap this up with some more executive orders. He released he will end the 1776 Commission, which is that history book thing, because historians said it distorted the role of slavery.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool because, make slavery a bad thing, not just an thing. He designated someone as the head of the Domestic Policy Council, Susan E. Rice.
What is that?
To root out systemic racism,
Okay.
which is awesome.
They do anything for the economy right away.
They did looking. He also did an executive order that reinforces Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. So government does not discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity.
Well, I don't understand. That we already had that.
Yeah, but it was reverses the action by the Trump administration. He kind of went.
Oh, it was one of those things Trump tore apart?
You don't have to have training on that.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, basically you could be a Michael Scott
Right.
and not have the training on that.
Right.
Michael Scott's funny, but it's ethically wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the economy. He's got some federal moratorium on evictions. He has asked agencies, including the Agricultural, Veterans Affairs,
Nothing
and Housing,
long term on the economy, just stuff that's COVID stuff.
Yep.
Right.
prolong those foreclosures.
Yeah, you got to do a little more than just that.
Oh.
You've got to make landlords fucking whole. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You can't just tell landlords they're not going to foreclose and people can live in those properties for free, because those landlords have to pay rent too, and it's called mortgage. And without it, it's not just, I have to move out and go to another place now. No, they lose their credit rating. They lose their ability to make money for their families.
Yeah.
So these people that are pissed off because landlords are evicting people, what other choice do they have if no one's going to come to their aid?
Yeah, so we need more aid from that. And the last thing on the economy was pause federal student loan interest.
Oh, that's another
Which is
COVID
very
thing.
needed, because
yes, of course
a lot
it's
of those-
needed. There's the repair that's going to come, or that will have to come after everyone's vaccinated, and we've looked at this thing in our rearview mirror, is a steep ass grade.
Yeah. Two more, it looks like, on government accountability. He wants to restore trust in the government, probably because of Trump's.
A long, steep grade as well.
Yeah. And he has ordered a pledge for all his appointees, basically, in the executive branch.
Okay.
They have to pledge, basically, to
Is it like an
maintain
oath?
and restore trust, in the government.
So they're going to take a new oath or something?
A pledge, it's called.
Okay.
Ethics pledge.
Okay.
And they have to sign it as well.
Okay, well,
And
there you
then
go. I guess then they could be thrown in jail if they show up at a Trump rally. Who knows? I don't know. Should be.
And then he's issued a freeze on all new regulations put in motion by his predecessor. So, to give his administration time to evaluate which ones are good and which ones are bad.
Which ones are good and which ones are bad. That sounds
but
like an
the ones he
oxymoron.
wants to move forward
Right.
on. So, yeah, there's the election in the aftermath.
Yes.
We're up to today, and obviously, moving forward, we hope more of these things to. I hope more of these things to be happening, especially with climate, racism,
God, we got to get this racism under control.
diversity.
We really do. I think he's got the right idea. Trump never said it's COVID,
He said
the environment,
Hong Kong flu.
and then racism.
Yeah.
We've got to tackle these things because shit, he was all of those things.
Yeah.
He was a super spreader. He didn't give two shits about the
Super
environment.
spreader of hate.
Yes, and nutshell. Thank you. You summed it up.
Yep.
You summed it up, and that sums up our first episode.
Yes, it's our first episode. Obviously, there might be some new executive orders and stuff. Since this is released, it'll be a week delayed.
Right?
So if we didn't cover something huge, that's why.
Well, go ahead and complain in an email.
In an
conversationtransfer@gmail.com. We'll read it if you send it. We're not going to look at anything because we're not on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, or what's the other one? TikTok. None of that crap. That's all bullshit. We're dealing in reality and what is solid here at Conversation Transfer. So, no, thanks again for listening. Conversation Transfer is produced by Hayden. It is edited by Hayden, and it is hosted by Hayden and myself. Thank you very much for listening.
Yes, if you like this episode and you would like to continue listening.
Our theme music was composed and performed by Hayden.
If you would like to continue listening, thanks for the credit. We're available wherever you get your podcasts.
Our engineering
including-
setup is also
Oh my god.
put together by Hayden.
Including YouTube. Previous episodes, please check us out on YouTube. That is our main support right now.
Yep, and you
And
can comment on
sponsor us.
YouTube.
Sponsor
And if you
us,
want to
please.
sponsor us, yes, get in contact with us at the Gmail address. Conversation Transfer, all one word, CONVERSATIONTRANSFER @gmail.com.
That was unnecessary.
Now, just in case they didn't know how to spell Conversation Transfer, it's kind of a long email address.
You know, a lot of those people that stormed the Capitol probably don't know how.
I don't want to hear from them.
Stay safe, keep thinking, and keep talking.